So good evening, everyone. Welcome to another class on case study. Our class ended unexpectedly last week as a result of situations beyond my control. Today, we are going to continue from exactly where we left at it last week. Remember that we're looking at the case of May 2025, case relating to DEFCON. We were able to look at the pre-scene, and the pre-scene talked about you being Matthew, what you're expected to do, the reports you're expected to write. Talked about the Nigerian economy, what is happening at that period, and apparently it was referring to periods where reforms were just introduced into the Nigerian economy, including and not limited to the removal of subsidy and the unification of the exchange rate and the impact it has on industries and businesses. Then it proceeded into Exhibit 3 that talks about the Nigerian diaper and sanitary pad industry, speaking about the opportunities and challenges faced with that industry. And as you can see, in Nigeria, importation of diapers and sanitary pad is predominant. They import significant amount of these items into the nation. So there is a huge gap for local manufacturing, and that is where DEFCON comes in. So DEFCON is into local production of diapers and sanitary pads in Nigeria. And we were told in a paragraph under sustainability part that is planning of introducing some eco-friendly products, right? And I asked you guys that is where the unseen is going to come from. That is where it's going to come from. And I told you that for every percent they give us, they will tell us the strategic direction the company wants to take. And that will form the basis on which we are going to predict the unseen, which I will prepare you for on how you're going to write the report. And that's exactly what this diet did also. So Pelumi spoke about what they will likely be asking in the unseen. Fashion also contributed. And we were about to confirm when um, our class was cut short. Beyond that, they also talked about environmental and sustainability concerns of DEFCON. So around the complaints by a federal agency of the government of one of their product that's creating problems to the society, and they have been asked to withdraw that product. So that was predominantly what the pre-scene was all about. I just needed to try to see if I can spot the part where DEFCON was talking about its strategic direction. Let me see if I can spot it without wasting too much time. Um, okay, just hold on. Okay, so I can spot it right now, but when we took our time to read it, we're able to identify their strategic direction. Okay, then we were going on to the unseen, and the unseen, I can remember we read Exhibit 6. And for Exhibit 6, that is where they will state, let's see, that's where they will state the requirement, what you're expected to do, and all that. But before then, they will tell you what the case study is all about. And like I've mentioned severally, case study is all about report writing, which is why we are focused on that and we are not distracted from that. As soon as we are done with this class, I will send you the reports also making 2 diet reports. Then we'll do one more, which I would also send you the report, making 3 diet reports. Then we'll wait for the pre-seen and attack it. I'll send you the report for that also, which you go into the exam and replicate to a very large extent. So usually you'd we case study takes very importantly an executive summary. The examiner will look out for that. You must ensure you always write it. It takes like 20% because it gives an high-level summary of everything you have done, the conclusions, recommendations, the major highlights in your report, right? And also, they would also always give you requirements. Like we're going to see in Exhibit 6, you need to ensure you address them. You have to address them. It's so easy to pass this exam that after your appendix, that if you look at the way time are allocated, the exam is 4 hours in itself. You're given 1 hour to read and plan. So you can properly read the data. You can plan your answer, identify the key data that you would use and all that, and know how to use it, know what your appendix would contain. So you do that. Then you do your calculations, which is majorly your appendix. That's where you do ratio analysis. You might do investment appraisal. You might calculate contribution margin analysis. That then before you then proceed into your report. Your reports, these 2 hours, you must ensure you address all, you don't have to write too much. You see, me, the way it is that I'm giving it to you, that's not, you can't write to that length in the exam. Because me, I took my time, research, write, and all that. You don't have that time in the exam. So it's an high-level work you want to do. Just make sure you don't fail. Touch on every part as you require. And you will see is a judgmental exam. It requires you as far as you can do your calculations. The report itself is judgment. Use your ratio to talk, speak about what is good, what is bad. Ethics, talk about ethics. Speak to their strategic direction and subheadings. Give subheadings based on your appendix. Give subheadings, right? So let's approach that. As you can see, based on the requirements, these are how marks are allocated. Your ability to assimilate and use the information. I mean, you need to show the examiner that you actually read the pre-seen and the unseen. I mean, referring to them in your report goes a long way. It gives you mark in the exam. Understanding the problems that the entity has and solution. This is where you understand the strategic direction, where they want to go. Your ability to direct your appendices towards that and provide solution in your analysis. Judgment cannot be overemphasized. Two persons should have the same level of reports. Your calculations might be the same, they might not even be the same. Judgment is so important that when you write, you know that this person is ready to become an accountant. You're speaking with numbers, with data, and you're telling them on the basis of this data, this is what you can see. This direction you're trying to go is wrong. This direction you're trying to go is correct. This is how you should tread it based on the data that you have, both in your calculations and in the pre-seen and the unseen. Speaking to data. Then the ability to conclude decisively, conclude that on the basis of this is what we should do. Make recommendations. And conclusion is just around saying, this is what you think they should do. From what you can see, this is what is happening here. And recommendation is, this is the steps they should take in order to correct any anomaly that's existing and whatever. What have you? So all that are the skills you are trying to create for you. And in all of this, don't forget again, your executive summary is 20% and ethics It's 10%. Okay. Now, the exhibit 6, which is an email from my boss to me. So it says, "You're welcome back from your holiday, and I hope you found enough time to rest. As you know, we are now in our peak period in the office, as we need to prepare the board meeting coming up in May. The company's draft financial statement have just been submitted to me, and I want you to carry out a review of the same, as this will form the basis of my report to the board. You will recollect that the company is currently on an expansion drive and have added some products to its line during the year. It has also taken some long-term loan to finance this expansion, a year which supply you with few points that will be relevant when reviewing the financial statements. I've attached this as an appendix to the financial statements. Also, as the company's response to environmental concerns and a green revolution, it is proposing to introduce 2 eco-friendly products, Biodap and Piopad. The marketing director has provided details about this project, which I am also attaching to this email. You are to evaluate the products and provide reports on whether they have a positive contribution to the company's bottom line after considering all relevant costs. I want you to submit to me a report on the assignment in 2 weeks ahead of the board meeting. Your report should include a stance for inclusion in an advocacy paper for the board's review and subsequent approval, soliciting government expansion of the national development policy to accommodate the sector, given its considerable potential contribution to the national economy, and while identifying the incentives that will bring about a realization of the gains from the sector. Again, let me read it again. A stance for inclusion in an advocacy paper for the board's review and subsequent approval, soliciting government expansion of the national development policy to accommodate the sector, given its considerable potential contribution to the national economy, and while identifying the incentives that will bring about a realization of the gains from the sector. Come back to that. B, a review of the draft financial statements covering management's performance on profitability, liquidity, and financial management and operational efficiency. You are to take into consideration the explanatory notes on the financial statement attached to the draft financial statements. These ratios. Number C, evaluation of the 2 proposed products to show possible contributions towards the company's bottom line after taking cognizance of all relevant costs. I'll take that again. Evaluation of the 2 proposed products to show possible contributions towards the company's bottom line after taking cognizance of all relevant costs. D, an extract to be included in the company's annual sustainability reports and your advice to the board on how to address potential challenges considering DEFCON's response to environmental and sustainability concerns, together with the letter from the Federal Consumer Protection Agency from the perspective of DEFCON's profitability and sustainability. I hereby attach herewith Exhibit 7 to 10. In connection with the assignment, also, if you check your files, you will see details about the economy and Nigerian business environments. The Nigerian diaper and sanitary pad industry, together with the company's response to environmental and sustainability concerns, all this should be able to assist you in drafting your report. I look forward to receiving your report. Tafa? Okay, interesting, extremely interesting. This is exactly the kind of way you are going to have the requirement. It's always the first exhibit. That is what your boss will share with you, exactly what you're supposed to do. And you can see, I was reading it twice in some instances, not because me, I've not read it. I've read it and read it over and over again. I'm reading it to teach you how sometimes you need to read a sentence over and over again to sink it and understand it very well. Take your time on these exhibits that state what you're supposed to do. Take your time and understand exactly what the guy is looking at. And that's what that 1 hour is meant for reading and planning. Is about knowing exactly what you want to do and attaching and allocating time to each of them so that the 2 hours or 3 hours, 1 hour that you have for calculation, 2 hours that you have for reports, you will not misalign priorities. You will not allocate too much time to areas that will give you little marks. You need to prioritize the order at which you're going to attack the solution. Now, if you look at this, right, this is really requesting for your judgment. This A part of this requirement wants you to strictly apply what you have read in the pre-scene. Because when you look at the pre-scene, it states a lot about this diaper, this industry in question. It says a lot around it. A wants you to apply. He wants you to speak to it. He wants to be sure that you understood the problems and the opportunities in this industry. And that's exactly what you're going to be speaking to in a well-articulated paragraphs. Within 3 or 4 paragraphs, you'll be done. You can justify. I mean, it says a stance for inclusion in an advocacy paper. You want to write a justification for why the government should include this industry, this sector in their national development policy. I mean, the solution is clear. Just use the data that you have in the pre-scene. Use it. This A part is just like a gift. When I saw it, I said, they just gave you guys free marks here. Just use the data, your ability to extract, okay, it has the ability to the contribution to GDP, the employment opportunities it creates, the services and it can create for the foreign exchange, and consequently it will boost our foreign exchange reserve. A whole lot is all there. But we just need you to say some things in your own words. Think about it. But most of the points you need are there in the pre-scene, which it will be part of what they will give to you. B part is just about ratio analysis. So this is always there every diet. Except they want to show you shege in a diet, they will not put it there. Put something else. But every diet is there. C, now we are asked to evaluate the two products. Now, depending on the data given to us, will tell us which evaluation we want to do. Because we need to do some calculations, then we'll speak to it. And evaluating is always straightforward. The major work is the calculation. Writing about it is, I mean, the figure will tell you whether you should go ahead and produce this product or not. We just refer to the figures. As you can see, from our calculation, this product made a profit of this in this year. because he is able to sell very high unicorn, then we will advise that they should go ahead and manufacture. It's always is as easy as that. So you evaluate the two proposed products. And D, I think when we, if I mean, all of this is what we predicted when we read the pre Somebody also mentioned, one of the people that spoke, that they will ask about sustainability reports, that you should prepare one, right? But again, this is not so much about sustainability reporting. It's majorly an extract that the company can include in their sustainability reports that talks about how they want to address the challenges they are facing in the light of the response they gave to Federal Consumer Protection Agency. And we need to look at this from the perspective of profitability and sustainability, right? They are saying we should withdraw some products, right? So um, we need to write um like a paper also that would can be included in our sustainability reports. It's just majorly talking about how our products, how we're trying to introduce an eco-friendly product. And this product would seriously reduce the environmental and sustainability concerns raised by, you'll see what we can come up with. Okay, so that's really what this requirement is all about. And again, the pre-seen is the major thing. It gives us direction so that when you get to the exam, you won't be shocked. Okay, now let's this last paragraph. It says I attach here with you always find it every diet. They always write it that okay, that you should read the next paragraphs. And you see, they say also, if you check your files, when they say check your files, they are talking about the pre-scene. They are talking about the pre-scene, that you will see details about the Nigerian economy and Nigerian business environment, Nigerian diaper and sanitary pad industry and all that. So they are talking about what we read in the pre-scene. That's what this last paragraph is speaking to. Okay, so Exhibit 7 really gave us the financial statements of DEFCON for 2 years, give us statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, which we're going to use for our ratio analysis. And also, Exhibit 8 gave us some explanatory notes, which we're going to use because the requirement mentioned that we should use the explanatory notes in our analysis. So we really are going to use it. So the explanatory notes, the note 1 says in October 2023, DEFCON introduced new range of diaper and sanitary pads that are relatively cheaper models of the existing ones. This has increased the company's market share and created a more diversified customer base. I mean, even while you're reading this, there's no way you want to answer that B part where they ask you to do analysis and not talk about this, especially when you compute your ratio and you see that maybe they have a low gross profit margin is declining. You can say because they are now selling cheaper models, they are selling at low prices. That's why their gross profit margin is reducing, right? But they said that it has increased the company's market share and created more diversified customer base. So if you see them having a high asset turnover, or you're seeing them having a profitability indicator that is going southwards, you can speak to this as well. So it's just for you to refer to it. Okay, this is the reason why this is moving this way. Number 2, they said the board decided to outsource the company's payroll administration as a way of reducing its escalating fixed overhead. This has led to a significant reduction in administrative expenses. So again, if you compute your ROC and you find out that your ROC is doing well, I mean, you can refer to this that is because of the company's strategy to reduce, to outsource payroll administration that has greatly helped them to that greatly helped or increased their profitability. You can speak to that in the light of your ratios because you would expect that this outsourcing should improve their profitability to a large extent. Number three says the company is presently experiencing liquidity squeeze. Hence, the board has decided not to pay cash dividend in the year ending December 2004 to its shareholders. In lieu of cash dividend, the board decided to give share bonus of 1 share for 2 shares to the company shareholders in October 1st, 2024. So again, you can speak to this as well. So you should not be surprised when you compute your liquidity ratio and you are seeing that the liquidity ratio are not so great, then you should know the reason for that. I mean, you're told here that they are facing liquidity squeeze, or if you see their debt ratio being high, that they are borrowing money to survive, then you will see the reason why they are borrowing money. It's because they have liquidity squeeze, and that's why they cannot pay cash dividend. Finally, okay. The management is contemplating a long-term borrowing to finance the company's proposed projects. So their proposed projects, they want to borrow for it. So you have to use this point again because if you compute their existing, if you compute existing debt ratio or debt to equity ratio or gearing ratio, you find out that the company is highly geared. So you will tell them that it's not advisable to go and borrow for this project because already you're already in debt that you have not settled. You want to borrow more for a project. Tell them it's not sustainable. Now they should probably go and look for equity. So those are the lines you can use for this. Right. Okay, now let's go to Exhibit 9, but just give me 30 seconds. Coming, 30 seconds. Okay, now Exhibit 9. Exhibit 9 talks about new product development. It says the board has just approved the proposal of the management to introduce 2 eco-friendly products into the market, BioPad, a sanitary pad model, and BioDAP, a diaper model. Both the BioPad and BioDAP are eco-friendly products made from bamboo. The BioPad is reusable. Products in this category are normally referred to as biodegradable because bamboo is naturally antibacterial and highly absorbent. Bamboo pads are soft, breathable, and an excellent eco-friendly option. Using reusable sanitary pads have several benefits, both for customers and the environment. This includes cost effectiveness. So although the initial investment is higher, reusable pads can be used several times, saving money in the long run compared to disposable pads. Environmentally friendly. Reusable pads significantly reduce waste. The average woman uses thousands of disposable pads in a lifetime, which ends up in landfills. Reusable pads help minimize these environmental impacts. Healthier option. Reusable pads will be made from natural materials like bamboo, which are free from the chemicals and synthetic materials found in many disposable pads. This will reduce the risk of skin irritation and allergic reaction. Comfort. Reusable pads are more comfortable than disposables. They are often softer and more breathable, which can be especially beneficial during long period of wear. Support for women in need. Reusable pads support social causes such as providing menstrual products to women and girls in need. And customizable. Reusable pads will come in various sizes and absorbency levels, allowing users to choose the best fit for their needs. They will also be more discreet and quieter to change. The rising cost of living and inflation in Nigeria have significantly impacted the prices of sanitary pads products. Despite the higher initial cost, eco-friendly options can be more economical over time and are better for the environment. Okay. So this part of this exhibit will seriously help us in answering these B parts. No, the one that is talking about this, what we can include in our sustainability reports. A lot of those data that they are giving to me here are things I will speak to. The benefit of the product I'm trying to introduce, the fact they're environmentally friendly and all that. Okay. So now they gave me selling price per each pack of the products that I want to introduce. So BioPad, I'll be selling it for 1,500 naira per pack. This thing that's very cheap. And in a pack contains 12 pieces. And the same one, Bio DAP. A pack also contains 12 pieces. But this one is very expensive. It's 6,000 naira per pack. Okay. That's the selling price. Okay. And they also gave me the raw material cost. They gave me the production cost. They said raw materials. They said the two products will be produced on the company's existing machines. Good. That means there won't be fixed cost. However, there will be need to buy a specialist machine. Okay. To convert the bamboo into usable raw materials for their production. The specialist machine will cost 25 million. Okay, so that means there is still an initial investment. And will have a lifespan of 5 years with annual processing capacity of 60 tons of bamboo. All of these data are so important that you need to follow it with your mind. Otherwise, you will not know what you're supposed to do. It's not an exam that you read, see you're reading a novel. You read with noting every point. So there has to be an initial investment of 25 million and to buy a machine that has a lifespan of 5 years. And the machine can process 60 tons of bamboo. 60 tons. That is huge. 60 tons of bamboo. Right. So they said that a ton of bamboo costs 12,000 naira. He said a ton of bamboo costs 12,000 naira. And they said each ton of processed bamboo can produce 12,000 pieces of biopad or 3,000 pieces of biodap. Okay, let me stop here a bit. Let me just interact with you guys so that I don't want this dead silence. So that means that a ton of bamboo can produce how many pack of biopad? Can tell me that. How many pack of biopad can a ton of bamboo produce?
12,000.
12,000. How did you get that? Using the question, sir. Not 12,000. You say 12,000 pieces. I say pack.
Yes.
How many pieces pack?
1,000 pack. So
There's 1,000,
how did you get that? 12.
12,000.
Okay. 12,000 divided by 12 pieces. Okay, good. And
12,000 divided by 12.
pieces, good. The same thing for this.
Yes.
Yeah, the same thing for this biodiap too. It's 3,000 divided by 12 pieces. So those are the ways you have to be um um really focus on this to analyze this. It says the machine will have no residual value at the end of its lifespan. It is projected that the company will be able to sell all units produced per annum. Okay. So the assumption is that we are going to sell all the products, that we produce. So from this paragraph now, we can easily estimate what we can produce because the machine we are buying has a capacity to do 60 tons, right? It can do 60 tons. And a ton is 12,000. So if I want to get, okay, how much am I spending on bamboo? I can easily know how much I'm spending on bamboo. Who can tell me how much are we going to be spending on bamboo to buy all the bamboo we need? How much?
720,000.
720?
Yes.
How did you get that?
One is 12,000 and we're going to buy 60 per year. Okay, so per year is 720, but if you're looking for 5 years, that'll be 720 times. So that'll be 3.6 million.
For the cost of bamboo. Okay. So we should be looking at 720 per annum. And with 60 tons, what's the quantity of biopad that we can produce? What's the quantity of biopad that we can produce with 60 tons?
60,000.
How
No,
did you get it?
720,000 quantity.
Of biopad.
And we say one ton can give us 12,000 pieces, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
if you have 60 tons, that's basically 60 times 120. That's 60 times 12,000.
Okay,
That's
good.
720,000
Okay, so and that's how many packs?
divided by 12. 60 packs.
60,000.
All
I'll be
Yeah,
60,000 packs.
60,000. Okay, fine. So I'm just trying to go through this with you just to teach you some of the thinking processes. Now, they gave us other material costs. So apart from bamboo costs, they are going to incur other material costs. So for biopad, they say other materials per piece, 15 naira for biopad, 150 naira for biodap. So apparently biodap is much more expensive to produce. And the quantity you can produce here is small and it's very expensive. It's 6,000. Those are the things you'll be looking at and see. Okay. So packaging material too. Biopad 15 naira, biodap 15 naira. It's much more expensive to produce. So I probably maybe it's the luxury arm or something like that. But I mean I'm just assuming that wasn't mentioned. In addition to that, they said marketing and distribution expenses. They said the company will incur additional marketing and distribution expenses of 1.2 million, made up of 60% variable and 40% fixed. These expenses will be distributed equally between the two products. Okay. So you need to note all of these expenses are Very important. You have to use all of them. Otherwise, you'll not get a reasonable mark. So aside all this, they give us marketing and distribution of 1.2. You have to remember the fact that 60% of it will be variable, 40 is fixed. And the usefulness of this is that when you are computing contribution, contribution is sales minus variable costs. You need to consider all your variable costs. So the variable cost you consider for this guy, marketing and distribution, is just 60% of 1.2. Then when you are getting the net contribution or profits, that's when you consider the 40%. We are now told that it is expected that these two products will displace two other existing products currently being produced by the company as follows. So biopad will displace an existing sanitary pad that contributes to 15 naira per pack, and biodap will displace an existing diaper that contributes to 250 naira per pack. They said the company does not currently hold any raw material inventory for the two products. So, what's the relevance of this one? This displacing, right? Can anyone figure this out? What's the relevance of what can we use this for? Is it going to be a cost to or what?
I think it's the opportunity cost. I mean, that's the cost that will be contribution that will be foregone for producing these two new products.
That's absolutely correct. And when you are calculating the profitability of these new products, you have to remove these lost opportunities. It will be an additional cost on this new project because we are losing it. It's a cost. It's a cost of doing this new business. We have to consider that. Accountants does not consider it in our own accounting, but this is not financial reporting. This is pure analysis. This is financial evaluation. So we consider it as part of the cost of this new project. Good one, Pelumi. Also, we're given product and marketing of Biopad and BioDAP. It says the marketing director has advised the available annual tonnage of bamboo will be split into 60% and 40% of Biopad and BioDAP. Okay. This one is so important in the sense that the bamboo, they use bamboo to produce these new eco-friendly products. And they have given us the splits of how it's going to fly, how they are going to allocate the materials to the products. So 60% will be given to Biopad, 40% to Biodap. That means out of that 60 tons that the machine can process every year, so 60%, which is 36, will be used for Biopad. 40%, which is 24, will be used for bio. So when we're doing our calculations of raw materials, we need to have this in mind, and also what can be produced for each product. When I was asking you the number of products that can be produced, you were doing 12,000 times 60. No, for Biopad, it's going to be 12,000 times 36, not 60, because only 60% of the bamboo tonnage will be allocated to Biopad and 40% to BioDAP. Okay, now Exhibit 10, letter from Federal Consumer Protection Agency. So unhygienic product. So they wrote a letter to our MD. It says the subject is unhygienic products, diaper and sanitary pads. It says that this is to bring to your attention the complaints we have recently received from consumers in respect of your products. Okay. Consumers are experiencing itching after using some brands of your diaper and sanitary pads. These are the ones that your company introduced in the market 2 years ago, known as economy diapers and sanitary pads. You are to withdraw these products from the market immediately. Otherwise, the agency will be left with no other choice than to commence action against your company. We have also commenced a nationwide compilation of list of consumers affected by these two products and documentation of their claims. As soon as we have enough evidence and claims, we shall open discussion with your company on the payment of compensation to the consumers concerned. Accept the assurances of our highest esteem that. And that is the end of the unseen. Just a fun fact is that for the ethics part of your report, this is where you pick, this is just what you need to speak about for the ethics part. It's part of, let me say it's part of, you might identify other areas, right? The fact that they are producing products that is causing discomfort to consumers, it's an ethical issue, and it boils down to professional competence and due care, that they should have established a quality control departments that would have really looked at the impact that the product can have on the human skin before it is pushed to the market. That's a failure of that department. I mean, it's your judgment, really. You can speak and see how far you can go about speaking on the ethical part of this area that they brought for you, but you need to speak to that. So I really want you to write up that. When I'm sending your report, I might remove it and ask you to write about ethical implications of any ethical implications that you can find here, like that. Okay. So I did a summary of the unseen for you. That was the first thing I do. You don't have to do all this in the exam. It's just for those that have read it before. You just want to quickly look at a summary. Then this goes for it. Since we just read it, it's still very fresh in our mind. So requirement A, advocacy stance, right? So requirement B, review of financial statements. C, evaluate proposed new products. D, sustainability reports. And this is the financial statement they gave us and all the other information I just extracted. Okay, now I want to do my calculations. So I will not go through, like I was going through it one by one for the last for the last diet we did. So I want to believe you are familiar with ratios and you can easily get most of these figures. But yeah, I computed ratios. So the ratios I computed for profitability, I determined my operating profits just for me to use it in my ratios. Then I computed profitability ratios. The ratios I computed gross profit margin, operating profit margin, net profit margin, and we'll see which is majorly the four ratios you should also do in the exam. Right? And gross profit margin, as you all know, gross profit over sales. And for the 2 years, is there. I don't want to be going back and forth. With this report, you find the gross profit there, you find the revenue there. And one thing I can see here is I can see that gross profit margin is declining. When you're analyzing this, don't forget that note 1 that talks about the fact that they introduce cheaper products. So that might be the relevant impact. So number 2 is operating profit margin. I can see this one too is declining as well, which further shows the impact of this decline in gross profit margin and the fact that the reduction they are trying to do in the administrative expenses by trying to introduce or outsource their payroll administration is not, I mean, it's not enough to give us an increasing operating profit margin. It's still declining. So the impact of the GP margin is huge. However, we started regaining at the point of net profit. So we're doing it that's increased. Our return on capital employed is really declining as well. So we are not making good of our resources that has been entrusted to us. So we'll see. We need to analyze all of this. So you guys need to compute this first, then analyze it. Next is the liquidity ratio. For liquidity ratio, usually you might not really have to do this one that I did. It's not necessary, right? It's not really necessary. I don't even advise you to do it. So you can just do current ratio and quick ratio, then move on. And of course, as expected, because they told us in the notes that the company is experiencing liquidity squeeze in note 2 or 3 or thereabout. So I'm not surprised that their liquidity ratio is declining. From a liquidity standpoint, this company is not doing so great. And even if you want to look at this cash ratio, you see in 2024 it's even 0 because they don't have any cash. Cash ratio is cash over current liabilities. So doing very badly. Now, from operational performance or working capital efficiency perspective, inventory in days, which is number of days inventory are held, is increasing. That's not good. Receivable in days is increasing. That is not good. Payables in days is increasing. Anyway, they can't help it because they cannot even collect money from their receivables early. So it's expected that this one also will get worse. It's not good. So all are not good. Now, I did working capital cycle, which is what I called for most of it. I thought SBR operating cycle, and that is also elongated, which is not also good, which is not good. Their asset turnover as well declining. So all these we need to speak to. Then my financial structure or gearing ratios, I did debt to equity ratio, debt ratio, and interest cover. And as you can see, is increasing from 5.75%, 74% to 15%. That's what their debt to equity ratio is talking. So this company is already taking a lot of debt. Debt to asset ratio, which is proportion of their debt that is financing assets, is also increasing. Fortunately, interest is not, the profit cannot keep up with the interest, with the increase in the interest, because our profit could cover our finance cost over 25 times in 2023. But look at what we have become in 2024, 8 times. If this trajectory should continue, the company will be in trouble. To be in serious trouble. And it's the same company that wants to borrow to produce a new product. Well, it depends on the performance of the product. So let's look at the performance of that new product. All of these that I brought out again might not be important. Why I brought it out is just for me to be able to put all I need in one place. So, like I've identified when we were reading it together. So I separated, this is my appendix 2 anyways, biopad and biodiap, separated their computation. All I want to do is just to compute contribution or profits. Okay, so don't complicate it. And it's just sales minus variable costs to get contribution minus fixed costs to get net contribution and or your profits. And that's it. That's what I want to do. So I just need to be able to make sense of all the pieces of information that was given to me. Like the machine I bought, I was told they can process 60 tons. I was also told that from these 60 tons. Biopad is going to get 60%. And each ton can produce 12,000 pieces. And there is 12 pieces in a pack. And I'm selling each pack for 1,500 naira. And I'm incurring some other material cost, 15 naira. Packaging per each piece is 10 naira. And they give me other additional marketing and distribution expense of 1.2 of 60%, variable 40%, which I'm going to split equally between the two products because they didn't tell me the basis for splitting, so I'm splitting them equally. Then there is opportunity costs that Pelumi was able to identify is also an additional cost. So this is the product, the contribution that the product that Biopad is displacing. This is what it was bringing to us. So we are losing it now. And we're told that the bamboo, it costs 12,000 per ton. We're going to, that one is really does nothing. Anyway, it does have. Now, so with all this information, I can determine the volume. So for Biopad, since we are giving it 60%, we are giving it 60% of the tonnage per annum. So it's going to be doing 36 tons. So what we can produce of Biopad, since we do 12,000 pieces per ton, and it has 12 tonnage of bamboo, so it can produce 432,000 pieces. By the time you divide that by 12, you get number of packs. Is 12 pieces per pack. Then with this is what they can produce. Now, since they can produce 36,000 per pack, and the selling price is 1,500 naira per pack, that means we are looking at a total revenue of 54 million total revenue. 54 million total revenue. Now, the variable costs, they gave us materials and packaging. They told us that for Biopad, these are the cost of the material for each of the piece, not per pack, for each of the piece. So per pack, you have to multiply by 12 because there are 12 pieces in a pack. So we're going to be spending 300 naira per pack on these variable costs. So the total, since there is 36, we are producing 36,000 packs. By the time you multiply that by the variable cost per pack, we'll get the total variable material cost, which is 10.8 million. We're also told about marketing and distribution. So the total is 1.2 million. They told us variable portion is 60% of that 1.2 million. That's 720,000. So Biopad will get half of that. Biopad will get half of that. So, which is 360,000 total variable cost. So I just then did the variable cost per pack. Since every other one, I have selling price per pack. I have variable production cost per pack. So if I do 360,000 divided by the total number of product produced, I can get price per pack for this guy too. Okay, I think I've computed everything. Now I can get my contribution. So my contribution is my revenue minus all my variable cost. I first did it per pack, then I multiply by the total number of pack. So this Biopad can generate a contribution of 42,840,000. Now let's now go to other costs. First is the opportunity costs. So we are going to be losing 250 naira per pack on other products as a result of introducing BioPad. So the total opportunity costs is that 250 times 36,000, that is 9 million. Then we can now consider the fixed costs, which is 40% of that 1.2 million, which is 480. BioPad will get half of it, which is 240. Then I can get my net contribution, or I can easily call it profit if I wish. So the contribution I got above, remove opportunity costs, remove fixed marketing costs. So that brings me to 33.6 million. So it's still a profitable product. And the raw material, the bamboo raw material costs that I will incur is 432,000, which is 36 tons times 12,000 per ton. Now, the same thing I've done for BioPad. I will do the same thing for BioDAP. The same, almost the same analysis. Just that BioDAP is getting 40% of the entire tonnage. Is doing 3,000 pieces, also 12 pieces per pack. Selling price for it is 6,000. Other material 150, packaging 50. Marketing the same 60-40 splits, which you will get half of it, is displacing a product that was contributing 950. Bamboo cost 12,000 per ton. So the volume that can be produced for this guy, since he can only get 40% of the 60 tons, so he's looking at 24 tons. So 24 tons times 3,000 pieces per ton. So we are looking at 72,000 pieces. The packs produced, that means you divide the pieces by 12 to get 6,000 packs. So this one is, his volume is not as much as these other products. That's BioPad. That's doing 36,000 pounds. This one is just doing 6,000. So what's this thing looking like? The revenue. You have seen what they can produce. So what's the revenue? The selling price is 6,000 and we can produce 6,000. So we are looking at 36 million. If you compare it to what BioPad is doing, BioPad is doing 54 million. So BioPad is still above it. Variable cost, total variable cost for this is 200 per piece. Per pack is 2,004. That means this one is even costlier. So total variable costs is 2,004 times 6,000. 6,000 packs, which is 14.4 million. The marketing and distribution cost total is 1.2. Variable is 60%, so he gets his own 360, right? 360,000. So that's like 60 naira per pack. If I divide it by the total number of packs. Then my contribution, which is selling price minus all my variable costs, then which is 3,540 per pack. If I multiply it by 6,000, is doing 21 million. Then if I consider my total opportunity costs, which is 950 times 6,000 units, is producing 1,000 packs. That's 5.7 million. Then the fixed marketing allocation, the fixed cost is 40%. So for it, I share it. Just like I've shared, we did this in the last one. So net contribution is okay. The contribution, then I deduct all other fixed costs, which is 15.3 Bamboo and material cost is this. Then I also did combine. You might not have the energy to do this in the exam, but I just want to combine the two. So it's advisable you do that. From our calculation, BioPad was doing 33.6. BioDAP did 15.3. So the total of the two is 48.9. It's 48.9 for the two of them. Now, after I've done all that, I then did depreciation. So machine, remember, we need a specialized machine for 25 million, 5 million useful life. So annual depreciation is 5 million per annum. Remember that we have not considered bamboo costs. We just calculated it down. So BioPad bamboo cost was 432, BioDAP 288, total 720, which we computed roughly when we're reviewing this. So the combined net contribution then becomes 48.9 minus depreciation minus bamboo costs for the two. So the total contribution of the two products is 43.1 million. So this net, I just call it net combined, is profits, 43.1 million. So I also did an analysis per pack. The total product can be produced for BioPad is 36, BioDAP 6, total 42. So the profit per pack, if I do this divided by 42, I'm looking at 1,000 and right. So I also did investment appraisal to appraise the viability of my initial investment. Knowing fully well that the machine cost is 25 million, I'm looking at 5,000. Looking at 5,000. Then the total contribution before depreciation and bamboo cost is 48.9. Since depreciation is a non-cash flow, I will ignore that. I will only deduct the bamboo cost so that I can get my cash flow. It's cash flow I need for investment appraisal. So the 5 million, I will not use that. This is what I will use as my cash flows. Then from there, I can get my payback period. My payback period, which is my initial investment over the annual cash flow. So I'm getting my investment back within 1 year, which is around 6.23 months. Return on investments, which is the annual cash flow divided by the investment, that's 192.72% investment. Then I computed my NPV. So you can do it in whatever way. I used a 12% discount rate as given. So each cash flow, 1 to 5, you can choose to use annuity since it's the same cash flows year 1 to 5. Can decide to use annuity formula for this. So my total PV of inflows is 173 million. Initial investment, 25 million. NPV, 148 million. So this is a very viable project. And that's the end of my workings. Okay. Any questions? Please ask before we go to the other part of the report, which I will just give you a summary. I won't read through it like I usually do.
Sir, sorry, just want to confirm this 5 million naira per here, we are not going to use it.
We are not going to use it. I only just use it to get my profits. I'm not using it for the cash flow because it's a non-cash item. It's depreciation.
Oh, okay. Okay, so like is it that this 5 million, when you are looking at the financial statement of the company, you consider it for your ratios.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. But
okay.
you know that they have already prepared the financial statement for this is a proposed project. It's not like you find 5 million in the financial statement they gave to us. That one is an historical statement, what has happened, which we have used to compute ratios and which we will analyze. So this one is the proposed projects that they said they will incur 25 million for a machine that has a useful life for 5 years. So this is just depreciation per annum. So if you are to prepare a profitability statement, depreciation will be deducted to determine profits, which is what I used in getting this my combined net profits, 43.18 million. Okay. So I don't know if that helps you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, with this computation now, we can see that there is no doubt that these two products are viable. There is no doubt about that. Look at the NPV is huge. Look at the payback period. It's plenty. Look at the return on investment. It's encouraging. Look at everything is just so good. Everything is so good. And we just need to just speak to that by considering other information given to us. So now, let me go to my report. You see, I don't just write report for writing's sake. I've already taught you in my first class how you should approach your reports. It should be focused to the requirements. So in my analysis and finding, I address requirement 1, which is the advocacy stance for expansion. They say we should write an advocacy stance that we're going to give to the board of DEFCON, okay, which they are going to submit to the government. That why the government should expand the national development policy to include this sector, which is what I've written here. Now, most of what I've written, I got it from my precinct. Got them from my precinct. So I did like an introduction, what these guys do, and the fact that this last paragraph is saying, despite these attributes, local production currently meets less than 20% of national demand. That's local production. So everything is imported, so resulting in heavy reliance on imports. And we have a growing population. People are giving births. People are considering the environment. So this industry represents a strategic sector that can make meaningful contribution. So I went to what I'm looking at. So I said, DEFCON strongly advocate for the formal expansion of the National Development Policy to explicitly accommodate and prioritize the diaper and sanitary pad manufacturing, particularly the emerging eco-friendly and biodegradable product segment. So this stance is premised on the sector's proven capacity to drive economic diversification, create employment, and all that. I just wrote about it. So, and I also acknowledge the fact that government is trying to strengthen local manufacturing. So if they include this sector, it will accelerate what they are trying to achieve. And I gave some points. Okay, so you would majorly read it up yourself. I talked about the economic contribution of this sector and industrial growth. I talked about foreign exchange conservation, that is, it would contribute to that. I talked about employment generation and skills development. I talked about public health and social impact. I talked about alignment with sustainability and green economy. So all of these points, I picked it from that unseen, where I was talking about, where they were talking about the strength of those two environmental eco-friendly products. I picked most of them. I didn't just speak, then I speak to it in my own words, right? Which the examiner will appreciate and understand what I'm talking about. Then I recommended some policy incentives, what the government can do. Okay, I talked about fiscal incentives like tax holidays and all that. I talked about they should waive import duty. I talked about provision of financing. I talked about local content and backward integration, which is sourcing raw materials locally, and regulatory and infrastructure support. So then I concluded. So it is I recommended to the board of DEFCON that they should approve what I've written, this advocacy stance, so that they can submit it to the government, all that. So that's the requirement 1. The requirement 2 is where I analyze the financial statement using the ratio I computed. So I started with profitability analysis, and I told them that, okay, this one, I will use the ratios I computed in Appendix 1. I did a little trend analysis here by looking at year-on-year revenue growth and some other items as well. And I explained why the revenue is growing because of the fact that they introduced some cheaper diapers, and which expanded our market share. So it's not surprising that our revenue is growing. And also, I mentioned that gross profit margin is declining, which shows that cost of sales is increasing faster than revenue. And I also mentioned that this is consistent with their strategy of introducing a cheaper product, so which has diluted our margins and all that. So it means the company is prioritizing volume growth and market penetration over margin. So you'd majorly read most of these things. Then operating profit margin. So this was declining. Then I had to say that even though we tried to reduce costs, but it didn't work because the gross profits margin has really eaten deep into that. But the steps we have taken is good, because if not for that step, maybe this will have gotten worse. Okay, so it has mitigated even a worsening operating profit margin. Then the net profit margin increased, and then I was able to say, okay, this also is part of the cost savings you have gotten from that outsourcing of that payroll outsource that we did. Also, I spoke about the ROCE also, and I link it to what's happening in the case as well. The fact that it's declining from this to this, which shows that our profit is not increasing enough, and we are not translating our resources to appropriate returns. So overall, I said the management is driving revenue and improved net profits, but at the expense of gross and operating profit margin. So the products they introduced was what diluted our margins. The payroll outsourcing improved cost efficiency. However, declining ROCE suggests the expanded capital base has yet to generate optimal returns. So you have to take your time to read this so that I won't overemphasize what you can easily look at. So look at this liquidity and financial management analysis. Look at the way I've analyzed this current ratio, linking it to the note 2 and the fact that they have suggested that this company require huge working capital, and the fact that they rely on huge inventory, because if you are selling those products, you need to have huge, which might have affected their quick ratio and current ratio, because they'll be keeping a lot of inventories. And cash ratio, they are experiencing liquidity squeeze, which also explains the reason why they are not paying dividends in cash. So I also then finalized, so you can look at it. Then the working capital analysis, I picked the ratio one by one also. The inventory that is worsening, I spoke to it, that is taking so long to sell. And because they need to produce a lot of products so that they can have something they want to sell to the market. So that's also affecting, they need to put in place proper inventory system to ensure that this will not cause problem for them, since it's taking a lot of time before they are able to sell. So receivables also, the fact that is increasing is not so good, because it shows that they are just selling because they have so much inventory, they are just pushing it out. It might result to bad debts if they are not careful, even though sales is improving, but they don't have money. They are just selling, they don't have money, and which is affecting payables. They can't pay their payables as well because it's also increasing too. Then I talked about working capital cycle as well. So just take your time and look at the way I've analyzed all of these ratios. There are things, they are in very, very simple term. So look at it, and how I'm making conclusions, because at the end of each sub-segment, I usually conclude. I'll just do a summary and say, okay, this is what's happening here. So the requirement 3. So you can see the way I'm picking my requirement one by one and I'm speaking to it. I don't want to miss any, and I'm not unnecessarily overflogging anything that is not useful. It's something you should be able to write within that 2 hours, the report parts at least. Then I evaluated the 2 products. Apparently, they are variable. Okay, the calculation was in appendix 2 and 3. So I told them that combined alone, Biopad is doing 1,190 per pack. It's doing a total contribution of this before opportunity costs. All the figures are in my workings anyway. So by the time I remove opportunity cost and fixed costs, its contribution or profit comes to this. And I said, this is a good performance and it's driven by the fact that it's selling 36,000 packs, which is huge. And because they have allocated a lot of bamboo to it and all that. So even though its selling price is low, but its cost structure is also low. And this helps him generate a huge contribution to the company's bottom line. Then I mentioned the same thing around BioDAP as well. What it's contributing, though is not as much as BioPad, because this one is not producing so much. Though its selling price is high, which also helped to a very large extent. Then I looked at it combined as well. I spoke to that also, just picking it step by step. And I'm not writing anything special. I'm just for my reports, I'm just saying what has happened and the implication of each of them. Then investment appraisal too. I talked about, okay, they are investing 25 million, and I talked about the payback period, which is very short, which is good. Then what is driving that payback period, which is that cash flow that I computed up there. I talked about the returns, that's good. I talked about the NPV and all that. So everything is also is also nice for this new product. Then I did an overall conclusion. I mean, it's good. They should go ahead with this product because our evaluation indicates that both products makes positive contribution to the company's bottom line because of the dominant contribution due to higher volume, and the two are so good. Then finally, which is extract for inclusion in the annual sustainability report. So this is where I talked about the product we want to introduce, the environmentally friendly and all of that, and it will reduce adverse impacts on the environment. So Sha wrote the introduction, then I give some justification from profitability perspective. Okay, that if I withdraw the affected product, it will affect our revenue, increase our cost, I have to pay concept compensation. So I spoke about what these guys are asking me to do. I spoke about the profitability perspective of it and the sustainability perspective. And I'm not just writing, it's what the question asked me to do that I'm picking. I'm so focused on the requirement of the exam and I'm answering that directly in my report. So I advise the board what they should do. They should comply, quality assurance. They should transition to the sustainable, the new product they want to do, and they should be more transparent so that there will be consumer confidence. So that's the major one. Then another part of the report is my recommendations and conclusion based on the analysis I've done. As you can see, I told them to continue. They should introduce these products because they are viable. I asked them to prioritize this one because, as you can see, it's volume driven. It's doing 36,000 packs and is able to produce a lot of contribution and profit. And I asked them that they should engage with the government with that advocacy stance that we wrote to them so that they can include their sector in the national development policy to help them. They need to work on their liquidity. It's very poor. And also, they need to continue to embed sustainability in their product so that government will not continue to harass them. So I then conclude that the analysis we did demonstrate that DEFCON is well positioned to enhance its performance, long-term sustainability through all this product they want to introduce. So the proposed products generate strong contributions, deliver rapid payback, and create substantial economic value. But they must balance their growth objective with liquidity management, regulatory compliance, and sustainable commitment. So they should be more proactive in engaging with the stakeholders, sustainability and financial discipline, so they can strengthen its competition position, protect its brand, and achieve sustainable profitability in the long term. Then another part of my report is my introduction. So this just talks about, okay, so this summarizes what the report is about, what we have analyzed is basically, I just summarize what I did in the whole report. What do you want me to do? So I started with the fact that I'm preparing this report for DEFCON, and I'm responding to the requirements raised in the case. And it evaluated strategic, financial, operational, and sustainability matters affecting the company and provides analysis to support informed board decision. So specifically, the report addresses the need for advocacy to support sector inclusion within national development policy, reviews management financial performance, evaluates financial viability, and considers environmental and sustainability challenges. So the analyses are supported by relevant appendices and culminate into recommendation aimed at enhancing profitability, regulatory compliance, and long-term stability. Just 2 paragraphs. And finally, my executive summary, which is where the examiner is really interested in. He doesn't want mostly a page executive summary. You should be able to tell us the summary of your findings and a brief conclusions on key areas. And there's no way you can write a good executive summary if you have not gone through the whole part of the report. So that's why it's coming last. It's coming last, and the examiner would happily give you 20 marks if you can help him summarize every part of your report. So I started with the company. I said DEFCON Limited operates in a competitive consumer product sector and is currently facing strategic, financial, and sustainability related challenges alongside opportunities for growth through product innovation. Then I started with the first part of what the examiner wants me to do. I said, I have an advocacy stance has been developed for the board approval to support engagements with the government on the expansion of the national development policy to accommodate the sector, given the sector's potential contribution to employment, industrial development, and environmental sustainability. Appropriate incentives and policy support are considered critical to unlocking. So I just summarized the advocacy stance here. So if the examiner wants, he will go to advocacy stance and read it in full. But this is a summary. Number two, the analysis that we did for the financial statement. I said a review of the draft financial statement indicates a mixed performance. While profitability has improved in absolute terms, margin have declined, reflecting cost pressure. Liquidity has weakened significantly, evidenced by deteriorating liquidity ratios, justifying the board's decision to withhold cash dividends. Operational efficiency has also declined, particularly in working capital management, resulting in longer inventory holding and receivable collection period. Financial leverage has increased, though still remains at manageable level. I just analyzed key parts. The guy understands it immediately. He's happy. Then I went to the products that we are introducing, BioPad and BioDAB. So the evaluation of the proposed BioPad and BioDAB products shows a strong contribution potential. BioPad is the primary driver of total contribution due to a high production volumes, while BioDAB delivers high contribution per unit, higher contribution per unit. Combined, the product generates substantial net cash inflow and deliver a highly favorable investment profile, including a short payback period, a significant NPV, indicating a strong value creation. Okay. And I also talked about the sustainability issues raised and the fact that we want to transition into a biodegradable materials and eco-friendly manufacturing processes and sustainable packaging is expected to mitigate regulatory and reputational risk. Then overall, the analysis supports proceeding with the proposed investments and sustainability initiatives subject to careful liquidity management, regulatory compliance, and strategic positioning to ensure sustainable growth and value creation. Extremely important. And the best way for you to do well in executive summary is when you have done all your reports, then you sit on it, then you start thinking, no, you are not supposed to be writing what you and you are not supposed to be copying. Each part of your requirement, each part of what you have done, just give us a summary of the end points of the critical conclusions there. That's what we want to have. Now, something is missing in this report, which is ethics. I didn't say anything about ethics. So I need you to come up with inside this underneath this analysis and findings, talk about ethics. So in this diet, they might not necessarily penalize us so much because the requirements are very specific. The requirements are so specific for this particular diet. But I need you to come up with ethical consideration. Just 2 paragraphs. Nobody is asking you to write an epistle at all. With this, a student can get 100 with this approach. So try to do that. I'm going to share this report with you. You have one responsibility. Read it. And it's not about reading it once. You have time. This is you see, why SBI, we are teaching you every week, teaching you topics by topic and all that. SFM, they are teaching you. Case study is not like that. Case study, you need to develop how to evaluate data, how to write a report. So, which is why you need to carefully study this report I've given you. Not reading it once. You can read it twice, three times, so that you can start seeing some things that I've explained. The sequencing of my reports, the subheadings that I've used. Get ready for that before that precinct comes out in May, because it comes out very close to the exam. And as soon as if it comes out on a Monday, I'll just call you guys Saturday morning. I'll have sent the report out before then, because I'll work on it for like 2-3 days. Saturday morning, we'll discuss it, send the reports to you, study it. So by the time you're studying it, you should be used to the way that I write, because it's going to be the same thing, the same matter. You will find the executive summary last, introduction, analysis, everything like that. The only difference is that we don't have the unseen. It's from the pre-seen that we can say, okay, this is what the examiner might ask in the exam. And will be 100% correct. Well, maybe 99%, because they might add some things. Like this diet now, they added a lot of new things that nobody would have ever thought of, especially this advocacy stance. So it's not left for you to be able to know that they just want you to use the data given to you. All the points are in the pre-seen and the unseen. So nothing out of the ordinary. So I wish you guys the best of luck. We'll try as much as possible to see if you can do November 2024 diet. Even if you don't do it, I'm confident that you're good, but I will do one more diet. And the reason I want to do one more diet is that I want to do a diet where I've not really spoken so much about these strategic models, right? Because it's not something you would mostly find. It's very rare. So I would pick a diet where the examiner wanted you to apply a model in your analysis. And that is November 2024 diet will do the trick for us. So in April, this month we are not meeting for case study again. In April, we are going to be having a 1 or 2 class. If I can finish everything, I won't be reading the report to you. Like, I will just explain the structure and all that. So if you can use a class to finish up this, so and see what we can make up out of it too. But that will be our final case before the precinct will come out. So the only part that I've not really introduced to you, which is those strategic models. So I would explain some of those models to you and how it can be applied in your reports and all that. So with that, you'll be fully ready and waiting for the precinct to come out, and I'm sure we'll appropriately tackle it when that time comes. Thank you very much. I'll see you next month, sometime around next month, for our final case. Good night.